Hey, we should be live. Microphone looks good. Video capture. Hey, we're back. Working on the Indoraptor. It's what it does, in case you haven't seen it yet. Got Bloodthirst X, based on the amount of damage dealt to all of our opponents so far this turn. Does have to be damage, can't be loss of life. Menace, and it's Enrage, which is whenever it is dealt damage, it chooses an opponent at random and deals damage equal to its power to that player unless they sacrifice a non-token creature. So our goal is to deal a ton of damage to our opponents in one turn, cast the Indoraptor, and then ping it a whole bunch and try and get them all dead the rest of the way. So last time we finished on Dominaria, so we're starting on Dominaria United. Where we would be if Gatherer wasn't being a jerk about things. Are we done now, Gatherer? I'm being a jerk. You? Alright. 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield, it gains haste. So I am not opposed to letting Indoraptor die and reanimating it in a turn where I dealt a ton of damage. And technically this thing could reanimate it. But there are probably cheaper ways to get Indoraptor back into play instead of spending 4 mana on a 2/3 Menace and the Indoraptor. So, Rage Blessing, no. Bite down is literally a bite and not a fight, and Indoraptor actually kind of wants to fight things, because if it kills their non-token creatures by fighting them, then it will trigger itself, and they'll have less non-token creatures to sacrifice to save themselves the damage. Whenever Briar Hydra deals combat damage to a player, put X/1/1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the number of basic land types. So that would always be 3 or less, but probably 3. Hmm. Don't think so. Like, there's plenty of other ways to pump up Indoraptor once it's already in play. I think we can do better than a 6 mana 6/6 Trampler that has to actually connect to do that. Hey, I think I cleared my throat out a little bit. Grab some water. Yeah, it's another one of those days where it's like, I was fine until I started talking for more than a minute. Alright, you may pay 2 instead of black. Reduces only the amount of black mana. Cast a black permanent spell. Creatures you control get +1/+1 in Menace. If you cast a red permanent spell, Defiler deals 1 damage. I don't know that that is worth it. To have the Defiler, like, a lot of the things that will ping the Indoraptor are red, but they're not permanent spells that are pinging him. They're either activated abilities of permanence. Oh, God. Alright, give me 1 second. Alright, let's see how long it lasts this time. Alright, so, yeah, we're mostly casting, like, red instants and sorceries to deal damage to the Indoraptor, or we're activating the abilities of red permanents. I don't know how many red permanents we're going to be able to realistically cast to deal damage to the Indoraptor in a single turn. similarly, I don't know how many green permanent spells we're casting for Defiler of Vigor. Like, some number of enrageable dinosaurs and maybe a couple other, like, decent aggro creatures to beat down with. Get that damage in, but I don't actually see any of the Defilers being... The black one's certainly not. Like, Indoraptor itself already has Menace, so I don't really care. That's getting some damage through. Hey. Never when I'm just, like, sitting here getting all set up, it's, like, almost never. It's just like, no, as soon as I start talking for more than a minute, like, I could have a full-on conversation with somebody, sit down to do this, and suddenly I will just have all of this phlegm out of nowhere and just cannot clear my throat to save my life. Whenever another creature you control dies, draw a card if it was attacking, otherwise deal 1 damage to each opponent. Again, we're not really aristocrats, so dealing the one, like, I would like this effect if we could combine it with other things so that we're dealing a ton of damage to our opponents with each thing that we're sacrificing, but I kind of need a thing that sacrifices my stuff first to deal a ton of damage, and right now we've got, like, the Emerald guy for artifacts, and even then I'm not sure about that one, because it's a tap activate ability, so the most I can deal is 2 to each opponent in a turn cycle. 1 damage to any target, but at that point I would rather have Goblin Bombardment if I'm going to sack creatures to deal damage. Like, 2 mana versus 5, doesn't get killed by wrath effects, doesn't cost mana to activate. Only downside is it also does not attack for damage on its own. Make a 1/1 with Prowess. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. Choose target creature and opponent controls. Whenever you attack this turn, Jaya deals damage equal to the number of attacking creatures to that creature. And then her emblem. I remember from building Balloona. Attacks, top X cards of your deck, where X is its power. Exile an instant or sorcery card with mana value X or less. You may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. Okay. Menace and opponents can't gain life. Meh. Lagomos. Lightning Strike. Liliana. I don't really need the Line Breaker. Green Widow. 3/3 with haste. Non-token artifact I control, add green. Tap 2 untapped non-token artifacts. No, I don't think so. I forgot she was non-token. I remember she exists. I could have sworn she was just any 2 artifacts, and the problem was is that she's in Dominaria and not like Brothers War or something. But yeah, the fact that she's non-token kind of even ruins that for her. Don't really need the Molten Monstrosity. There are times where it's going to be a 1 mana 5/5 trample, but I don't think that's quite good enough. Given what would already be going on at the times that it's a 1 mana 5/5 trample. Exile instead when you do create a 1/1. Sacrifice a Sapperling, gets +2/+2. Sacrifice 2 of them, draw a card. Vivisector, Warhorse. Also, I don't think we would run Warhorse. Cast a creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on it. When it dies, distribute its counters among any number of target creatures. Another target creature gets +X/+X based on the lands I control. Power less than it can't block. Attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, it gains double strike. Meh. Menace, tap, add 2 mana, only to cast dragon spells. Cast a dragon spell from my graveyard. Whenever you cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard, it gains when this creature dies, exile it instead. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you didn't put a card on the battlefield in this way, make a 1/1 goblin. Nope. Soar. Clerics. Control Dread is loss of life. While that will get our opponents dead a lot faster, I don't want to stay on topic. I have plenty of decks that are running Shoal anyway. They put a land card from your graveyard onto the battlefield, tapped under your control. Discard a land, gain 3. Discard a land, draw a card. Discard a land, gains indestructible, and tap it. Squee. Arena. I always forget, what does Arena actually do? Gain 3 life for each time it was kicked. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, deal the top card of your library, put in your hand, lose life. Okay. Target creature you don't control. If you cast this spell during your main phase, the creature you control gets +1/+1, then they fight. So it's an instant speed prey upon, and if I cast it main phase, I get +1/+1. Maybe? Like, it is another fight card that buffs the power on the Indoraptor, so I'm probably going to find better ones, but the fact that it's only 1 mana might give it a shot, where other cards wouldn't get that. Alright. Tattered Apparition, Terra Sunder. Yeah, I might want Terra Sunder for its versatility, since it's an instant. And we don't have access to white for things like Utter End, so we're going to have to run like Terra Sunder, Assassin's Trophy, maybe Maelstrom Pulse. Though Maelstrom Pulse has not been making it into my decks lately because of the whole sorcery thing, despite the fact that it's very good against certain token decks. Do not need the Raven Man. No. Okay. Thran Portal, no. Threats undetected. Abomination, tribute to Urborg. As flying, but when this leaves the battlefield, I lose the creature, so probably not. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Gain 2 life. If the spell was kicked, return another target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Alright, not amazing compared to other things we could be running. Iconoclast. Alright, what is the green-black duel from this one? Because I think we need it just to balance out the lack of other good green-black duels. Is it like Haunted Marsh or something? Yeah, there it is. Haunted Mire. Yeah, we're going to need a couple of the less good green-black duels to balance out all the red-green and black-red ones that we have access to, so... Alright, now for the commander. Listen. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, it gets +3/+3 until end of turn for each creature. Ooh, excuse me, blocking it. I mean, that's hilarious on Indoraptor with its menace, except that that just means it'll probably get through or get killed instead of being blocked at any point in time. Also, that requires it to get into combat as opposed to just pinging it, which, you know, I'm still going to be attacking with Indoraptor when I can, but... Cast a Cobalt spell, you may pay 2, make a dragon. Whenever you cast a dragon, create a 0/1 Cobalt token named Kobolds of Kirkheap. Stang and the Stang Twin. If another source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage +1 to that permanent or player instead. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, or Walkeye the Younger deals 2 damage to any target. If a source I control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player. So I'd be dealing extra damage to the Indoraptor every time I poke it. So if it's not indestructible, that's going to be a factor eventually. Yeah, I don't think so with Tor. Ziara is Flying Haste. Whenever it attacks, put an egg counter on another target creature without an egg counter on it. When that creature dies, if it has an egg counter on it, draw a card and create a 1/1 black insect creature token with flying. It's a copy of any creature card in a graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn, except it's a Phyrexian. Probably not. Go to Rosnacht. Worms you control get +2/+2 and have trample. 8 mana, make a 4/4, cost X less, where X is the greatest power among worms you control. Probably not. Number of lands I control. Whenever a land enters battlefield, make a 3/3. I don't think I need the mana rig. Moira deals combat damage to a player. Return to the battlefield target creature card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Not casting a ton of multicolored spells, so I don't think the mana cannons is where I'm at. There's trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, create that many treasures. Do I actually care about the Reaver Cleaver? It's 3 to cast and 3 to equip. There's a lot of treasure if it actually connects, though. But I wonder if I wouldn't have been served better by just taking Gnawbones, like the dragon, at that point. Well, this is a lot cheaper than her. 3 mana at first and 3 mana to equip. Alright, Spazzy, right hand, you can stop bringing up the thing constantly. Flying Haste. This tyrant deals combat damage to a player planeswalker. For each creature card in your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie knight creature token with menace. Yeah, I'm not really putting a ton of creatures into my graveyard for anything. I'm still debating the Reaver Cleaver. I'm just like, well, I'm thinking about that. I guess we will add it to the list and I will decide later if I want it. Commander. Reaver Cleaver. It is red and 2. Yep. Oops. Too many A's, too many E's. Multicolored spells you cast have Convoke. Think so. Don't need the Hourglass Pendant. Obelisk. Peregrine Dynamo. Think so. Killer Engine. Probably not. And there. Now we're into cards. Alright. Dominaria United Commander. Double Masters, Dragon's Maze. Alright, Armed and Dangerous is it's +1/+1 and gains double strike. All creatures able to block this creature do so. 6 mana. Eh. Block, no. Blackguard. Flesh and Blood. Exile target creature card from a graveyard. Put X/1/1 counters on target creature, where X is the power of that creature card. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. I don't really need punches, so Although a punch that can hit players is a little bit tempting with how strong I plan on making the Indoraptor. It can't run breaking and entering, can't run turn and burn. Want armed and dangerous. Carnage Gladiator is loss of life, so that's not helping. Dead Bridge Chant. Don't need down and dirty. Creature gets -1/-1 for each land card. First strike, haste. Each other creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has haste. Hmm. I mean, probably not. There are better ways to give Indoraptor haste. Don't need the Feral Animist. Granite. War Chant. My main thing already has Menace, and I really don't care about giving it to other creatures. Yeah, I don't see Master of Cruelties being a thing in the deck. Target creature. Does damage to any target equal to the power of the card returned this way, but it's a 6-drop. No. Extort is loss of life. Renegade Crisis. It's like Rurik Thar is interesting, but I don't see being able to force an opponent to have to cast a spell on my turn that they couldn't just cast anyway. So, maybe don't give me the option to play my Indoraptor for an extra 6 power. It enters the battlefield with counters and pay 2 mana, put a counter on its sorcery speed. It does have double strike. Eh. Target creature and opponent controls. Nope. Sire. Spike Jester. Threshing Moss Dog. No. Yeah, I don't think I need Toil and Trouble either. Like, the Trouble part deals damage, so that's helpful. If the Toil also did damage, if I could deal 2 damage to them and then deal 2 plus the number of cards they started with their hand, maybe. But since it's loss of life for the first part, it's a little less. Zertod Druid. Tap it for mana, deals 1 damage to each opponent. Maybe? So this is Dragon's Maze. Zertod, ZHUR TAA Druid, and it's red and green for, I believe, an elf. No, it's a human druid. Okay. Human druid. Yeah, ramping my mana a little bit and dealing 2 to 3 damage extra seems like something I might be interested in. Alright, on to Dragons of Tarkir then. Acid Dragon, Bowmasters, Artillerist, Survivalist. I need more ways to give my guys haste for Ambuscade Shaman to actually do anything relevant. Even then, I don't think it's a huge deal. I don't need Assault Formation. Ooh, Atarka's Command is 2 mana for 3 damage to each opponent before I do anything else. That could give my creatures +1/+1. I could attack for even more. That might actually be worth it. Alright, so Dragons of Tark here. This is Atarka's Command. The sorcery, right? Instant, that'd be silly. Is an instant. Okay. It's been so long since I've had to care what Atarka's Command was. Can't gain life, deal 3 damage, put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Creatures you control get +1/+1 in reach. So the reach isn't really a huge deal, but the extra damage might be. Don't really need Avatar. Causes loss of life and requires warriors. No, collected company, commune with lava. Exile 1 or more creature cards from your graveyard. Create a tapped XX zombie where X is twice the number of cards exiled. Don't think so. Don't need the elemental. Draws X and loses X. Nope. Deathbringer. Don't need Death Mist, I don't think. End Protector, probably not. Dragons, no. Roar. Okay, so whenever a dragon enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of dragons you control. I don't feel like I'm gonna have that many dragons is the issue. Like, there are going to be some, but I don't think enough. Flying haste, other creatures you control have haste. When your opponent casts a creature or planeswalker spell with the same name, right, that never happens. And it's also loss of life on top of that, just for the extra rubbin'. Like, in case they actually have a Relentless Rats deck or Persistent Petitioners deck or something. Like, it doesn't even mess with them there. In a way that gives me more Indoraptor power, potentially. Then again, I don't plan on flashing in Indoraptor, and I don't think anybody's flashing in the rats on my turn for me in order for my Indoraptor to get 10 extra counters if it was damaged, so that's a whole lot of things not going the way I need them to. They have it fight target creature you don't control. Whenever a creature you control fights, put 2/1/1 counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. That's hilarious if I can give Indestructible to the Altasaur and just have it melee everything until it's dead. The it there being the everything, like each individual thing that constitutes everything, since the Altasaur is not dying, except to wither and infect at that point. Uh, loses 1 life for each attacking creature you control. Nope. No, I need damage. 1 damage to each creature without flying, 1 damage to each creature with flying. Probably not. Like, it's a repeatable way to deal damage to the Indoraptor with the red activation without actually dealing damage to itself, so it would be fine. If a creature enters the battlefield, deal 1 damage to each opponent. Probably not, but maybe. I don't know that we're going to be able to put a large number of creatures into play, but there are some creatures that I'm trying to cast so that their ETB or gaining haste or something lets them deal a ton of damage to the opponents in one turn and then cast the Indoraptor. So if I could get 2 to 3 extra points of damage in that way, maybe. Probably not, though, because most of them I'd probably benefit more from something like Ogre Battle Driver or the one enchantment that is Ogre Battle Driver, but an enchantment. Like, literally, a creature comes into play, gets +2/+0 and haste until end of turn. Play that card. Aspirant. Sure, no. Don't need Storm Singer. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Target player discards a card, destroy an artifact, or deal 2 damage. Yeah, I don't think so. Lightning Berserker. Attic Chasm. All of these so far. Aether. Pitiless Horde. Nope. Sadist. Cave Caller. Reckless Imp. No. Executioner. Roast. If creatures you control have total power 8 or greater, gains first strike. Nope. Ambushers. Think so. There's the Savage Ventmaw. When it attacks, I get 6 mana. I gave that thing haste, and it actually gets to turn sideways. I get a rebate on my mana. And every turn after that. Maybe. If I run Savage Ventmaw, I feel like I have to go back and add that one thing from the one legendary Red Green Dragon from the Commander version of Baldur's Gate. It's 4 red green for a dragon. 4/4. 4/4. Okay. There's a battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. It's dash. 2 damage to each creature without flying. No. I think I need Shaman. I don't need Sidisi. Beginning of combat on your turn. Creatures you control with toughness 4 or greater get +2/+2 and gain vigilance. Eh. Trample. Eh. The Storm Rider rig. Bolster X. Trample. Surak gives haste pretty readily, but only to one of my creatures each turn. Then again, how often am I going to be able to cast 2 creatures, give both of them haste otherwise, and attack with them, and then cast Indoraptor? Seems unlikely. I just don't know that I need him specifically. Enters the battlefield, you may put a creature card with mana value 3 or less from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield, gains haste, return to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Hmm. I mean, probably not on Thunderbreak Regent. So the upside to Thunderbreak Regent, as opposed to some of the other things, is that players don't want to target it unless they have to. So they would need to know if it's attacking them. And with the way our commander works, that would mean killing the thing on our turn once we finally decide to attack them. So even if they kill it, they still take 3. That being said, it's a 4 mana 4/4 flyer. And if they're that worried about it, they either kill it on their turn to stop me from getting a bigger Indoraptor, or like another player's turn to stop me from getting a bigger Indoraptor, or they kill all of my creatures so they don't have to take the extra damage. You know, a route or Aetherize or something. What's its name? Um, the Cyclonic Rift. I was gonna say the Overload one. You know, something that deals with all my creatures at instant speed so that they don't have to target it. Volcanic Rush. Visions. And that's it. Okay. Also, again, I don't know how many actual dragons I'm going to be running. Because there have been a handful of dragons that's like, yeah, I kind of want to run those, but then the rest of them are like, yeah, that's not what I need, so. Putting in a bunch of cards that care about dragons when I don't know how many actual dragons I want, and where my commander is not itself a dragon, and also where I probably want some number of dinosaurs that have the enrage mechanic, so that way the dragons, so that way the Indoraptors getting extra value when I'm pinging all of my things. Abandon Reason, don't need Abundant Maw. No. I don't need a 6 mana 5/5. I do like the idea that blocking it still deals 3 damage to the player I'm attacking, but that seems very unwieldy at 6 mana. I think I need Blood Mist. Enters the battlefield, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. 2 damage to any target, so no. No. Bella. Nor do I think I would want to. Deal 4 damage to a creature, 3 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. I think so. We might want the Confluence, though. I don't think did I put Fiery Confluence on the list? I forget now. I think I did. Since it can deal damage to each player or each opponent. Potentially multiple times. I have to double check that, but I think we have Fiery Confluence on the list already. Each opponent loses 1 life. Sorry, Cryptolith Fragment, you are not what I'm looking for. I think there is one that deals 1 damage to each player when you tap it for mana. Might actually want that one. Dark Salvation. No, can't run that. Eldritch. Don't think I need Emrakul. Is there anything I can do with Emrakul, like, consistently? Probably not. Yeah, I don't think there's any way I can make my opponents, like, give me any kind of help with Indoraptor, with Emrakul, like, consistently anyway, beyond the normal, here, like, throw all your creatures away. That way you have no blockers and no way to sacrifice creatures when the Indoraptor triggers. Madness Enablers. Haste. Attacks create 2 1/1s that are tapped and attacking. That thing. It loses life based on the number of spiders you control. Also, that is a very high activation cost for trying to help Indoraptor. Mischief, no. Mirrorwing Dragon, no. Discard X cards, deals damage equal to the total mana value of the discarded cards to each of up to X target creatures and or planeswalkers. I think so. Newsgraph Mob. No. Razi, no. Actual Prey Upon. Disposal, no. 2 damage to target creature, 1 damage to each creature target opponent controls. I think so. Return up to 1 target instant, up to 1 target sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, then discard a card, exile Shreds of Sanity. Nope. Smoldering Werewolf. Spreading Flames. Cultist. Thermo Alchemist is each opponent. Maybe? Alright, so this is Eldritch Moon. Thermo Alchemist hyphenated? Yeah, he is. Okay. Red Human Shaman. 3. Don't think I care at all about Ulrich. Target creature gets +4/+4, and yeah, don't think so. Care about the captive. Don't need outcast. Of lightning. No. Griff. Okay. Eldritch Moon. We are at 51 minutes. I feel like I can keep going for a little while though, so I'll call it here for this one, but if you're watching this live, just give me a moment, I'll be right back. But if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day.